When people hear the name Jeffrey Epstein, most immediately think of one associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. But she wasn't his only close companion. In the years before his death, Epstein was romantically linked to another woman, Karyna Shuliak, and according to released records, she played a much bigger role in his private life than many realized. Shuliak, originally from Belarus, moved to the US in 2009 and reportedly remained in a relationship with Epstein for nearly a decade. People around him even nicknamed her the Inspector because she closely monitored his schedule and activities. Interestingly, her connection to him only became widely known months after his death.
That this happens. It's strange.
According to estate documents, Epstein planned to leave Shuliak an enormous inheritance, including tens of millions of dollars, multiple properties, and even a 33-carat diamond ring set in platinum with baguette-cut diamonds. A handwritten note described the ring as being given in contemplation of marriage. So either it was a grand romance or one very calculated financial scheme on his part. His will, signed just 2 days before his death in a Manhattan jail cell in August 2019, laid out major sums for several associates. Ghislaine Maxwell and his brother Mark were each set to receive $10 million. Longtime pilot Larry Vysotsky also got $10 million, while his accountant Richard Kahn was to receive $50 million.
Is your money dirty money?
No, it's not. So, in fact...
Why is it not dirty money?
Because I earned it.
After all the lengths Maxwell went to satisfy Epstein's twisted whims, she ended up with the same as the guy who just flew the plane. Isn't that ironic?
I'm glad you asked that question.
Shuliak was reportedly one of the last people to speak with Epstein by phone before his death, which authorities ruled self-inflicted, though public debate and speculation have continued ever since. By all documented accounts, their closeness was far from casual. And it gets even more tangled. Epstein didn't just hand Karyna money. U.S. Department of Justice records show he went out of his way to handle her immigration problems too. When Shuliak's student visa ran into trouble around 2012 to 2013, he tapped his network for discreet legal help, even reaching out to British investor Ian Osborne to find lawyers who could sort it quietly. Emails show attorneys warned that Shuliak had overstayed her visa and that reinstatement would be difficult, especially since she also had an asylum claim pending, which conflicted with student visa requirements. We will need to decide if pushing the asylum and redoing it is a more like path to success than the prosecutorial discretion or the reinstatement, Epstein wrote. Around the same time, Epstein was also busy clearing her path at school. Shuliak got into Columbia University's dental program through what the university later called an irregular process. Emails show Epstein's assistant, Leslie Groff, reaching out to faculty, including Dr. Thomas Magnani and then Dean Dr. Ira Lamster, asking, "Hello, Dr. Magnani. Jeffrey is asking if anyone was able to look at Karyna's classes and determine how much credit she could be afforded. Please let me know." Epstein even made donations to related programs soon after. And just like that, money and connections worked wonders.
How strange that this happens.
When the Epstein files were released in 2026, Columbia cut ties with the administrators involved in getting her in through that irregular process. By late 2013, Shuliak married a U.S. citizen, reportedly a woman named Jennifer, in New York. Records show shared addresses and joint bank accounts. After that, her green card process moved quickly. She received permanent residency in 2015 and U.S. citizenship in 2018. Divorce proceedings followed not long after. Messages from immigration attorney Arda Biscardes show how closely the process was coordinated, including references to the marriage timing and paperwork. Now that she's an American, you should throw her a big ol' party, one of Epstein's go-to immigration lawyers messaged on the day of Shuliak's naturalization interview. Step by step, string by string, influence and access seem to open doors. And the paper trail shows just how hands-on Epstein was behind the scenes.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
Epstein had a strange way of keeping people guessing. Back in 2002, one of his associates described him to New York Magazine as Gatsby-esque, rich, mysterious, aloof. But was it all just an act? Donald Trump, who knew Epstein for years, once said he was a lot of fun to be with, and that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. Yikes. Now let's talk about Epstein's love life, or whatever you'd call it. He never got married, but that didn't mean he didn't consider it. According to New York Post, he once said in 2014 that if he were to marry, it'd be Selena Dubin. At the time, she was just 19. But here's where it gets extra weird. Selena was the daughter of his ex-girlfriend, Eva Anderson Dubin. And no, Selena and Epstein weren't even in a relationship. Disturbing doesn't even begin to cover it. Speaking of Eva, she and Epstein were together for 11 years, starting in the 1980s. She later testified during Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, denying any involvement in Epstein's abuse and saying she was fine with Epstein being around her children, who even called him Uncle F. But the person most closely tied to Epstein was Ghislaine Maxwell. The daughter of British media tycoon Robert Maxwell, she dated Epstein in the early 90s and stayed involved in his life for decades. One of his exes told Vanity Fair that Ghislaine would casually mention she was still sleeping in Epstein's bed, even after their relationship supposedly ended. Another said she was in love with him the way she was in love with her father, constantly trying to win his approval, hoping maybe he'd marry her if she just did one more thing.
What was the crime of which you were convicted?
Two counts, one soliciting prostitution and procuring a minor for prostitution.
That loyalty took a dark turn. After Epstein's death, Maxwell was arrested in 2020 and charged with helping him exploit underage girls. She was found guilty of multiple charges and, in 2022, sentenced to 20 years in prison. During sentencing, she said, "Jeffrey Epstein should have been here before all of you. It is not about Epstein, ultimately. It is for me to be sentenced." A rare moment of acknowledgement, but for many victims, far from enough.
I honestly wish I'd never met him. Looking back now.
Epstein was known to surround himself with very young, often blonde women. According to Vanity Fair, his Upper East Side home even featured a photo of 1980s actress Morgan Fairchild, apparently his type. Attorney David Boies, who represents several accusers, explained that while not all women around Epstein were underage, many were in their early 20s and caught in what he described as Epstein's sex trafficking orbit.
Victims were given cash payments if they could bring other underage girls to be similarly abused. And that's how he continued to expand the number of new victims that he had.
His relationships weren't just secretive, they were deeply manipulative. One ex said Epstein would go on about polyamory, knowing full well she lacked the self-esteem to challenge him. When she refused an open relationship, he cut her off. Another ex, a Sports Illustrated model, said he always had to have a model on his arm, calling him emotionally stunted and without an inner world. And in public, he often showed up with unnamed companions, always introduced as a guest or mystery woman. One of his former girlfriends summed it up best. He wanted to seem like a man who controlled everyone, who collected people, who could damage people. The Epstein files are making waves again, and people are not buying the official story. No client list, really? And we're still supposed to believe Epstein took his own life?